IGCSE Mathematics Paper 5, 1 hour. For this first question, you need your tracing paper. Take your tracing paper, place it on over the triangle, draw over the triangle. Keep the center point marked as 5, 4. Rotate the tracing paper 90 degrees clockwise. If you just pop an arrow on the tracing paper, then currently the arrow is pointing north. It should point east once you've rotated it 90 degrees clockwise. So the triangle should end up there. Part B, describe fully the single transformation that will map shape T onto shape S. So this is shape T. To go back from T to S, it's a rotation. (90 degrees anti-clockwise). Center 5, 4. The next question, you have to type it into the calculator. Press Shift square root, so it appears with a cube root button. Then type in 5 tan 60, close the brackets, plus 1 equals 2.129754359, and copy down the entire display. Next question. This one. Okay. So the first thing to realize, well, you've got to work out angle W. The easiest way to deal with this question is just to imagine these were numbers. What would you do? So you can see parallel lines. The first thing that you should do is spot that there's alternate angles. So you have something like this. Yep, there's a Z there, which is alternate. So that means that this angle is angle X. And then you can bullet point this. They're absolutely fine with that. The reason for the Z is because it's an alternate angle. So alternate angles are equal. Okay. Now, if you have a look at this triangle that's inside the diagram here, you can see that it's an isosceles triangle. That's what these two lines mean. And if these two sides are equal, BE and EF, that means this side, BF, this is the base of the triangle. And in an isosceles triangle, the base angles are equal. So if I just show you here, these two angles that I've marked are equal. Now, how do we work them out? Well, you subtract angle X from 180, and then you divide it by 2. So both of these angles up here are 180 minus X over 2. Now, if you simplify this, half of 180 is 90. Half of minus X is either minus X over 2 or minus half of X. Okay, so I can write that here now. This is 90 minus half X. And this one is also 90 minus half of X. Okay, now I just need to bullet point my reasons as I'm going down, or just state the reasons, list the reasons. So we've used base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal. I've also used angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Okay, and if I want to work out angle W now, well, W and 90 minus half X are on a straight line, and angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So if I want to work out W, do 180 subtract the angle next to it. You have to write this in brackets, because when you apply the minus to the bracket, remember, you're not multiplying the bracket by 180, you're just applying the negative to the bracket like this. So that makes a minus 90, and here you have a negative and a negative, which are multiplied together to produce a positive. So you end up with something like this: 90 plus half x. And this is what W is equal to. So W is equal to 90 plus half x. Now, I have used another fact there, which is angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Okay, that's enough for 4 marks. Okay, for this next question, we need to use the formula speed equals distance divided by time. Speed equals distance divided by time. Now, what we're going to do is work out how long root 1 is. And we can do that fairly easily. There's a time button on the calculator. And we want to work out the difference between 2:48 and 2 p.m. So if we do it like this, 2, time button, 48, time button, minus 2 p.m., 2, time button, and 0 hours. Or sorry, so it's 2 hours, 48 minutes, minus 2 hours and 0 minutes. Oops. Oh, that's because of double 0. Oh, and I forgot the time button. So it's 2 hours, 48 minutes, minus 2 hours and 0 minutes. That's 2:48 minus 2 p.m. And that tells you that this section is 48 minutes. And it's pretty obvious, but I'm just showing you how to use the time button there. And with the other one, it's 3:25 minus 2 p.m. And that's 1 hour 25 minutes. Okay, if we press S to D, that's 1.4166 hours. Okay, so equals again, that's 1 hour 25 minutes. So 1 hour 25 minutes. Okay. Now, who drove at the greater speed? So just work out distance divided by time for speed. So root 1. So the speed for root 1 is equal to the distance, which is 36.4, divided by the time, which is 48 minutes. Okay, whatever we divide by, we have to keep the units consistent. So if we divide root 1 by minutes, we have to divide root 2 by minutes as well. So we have 36.4 divided by 48, which is 0.758, 0.7583, etc. For the speed for root 2, it is 65.2 miles divided by 1 hour 25 minutes. There are 60 minutes in an hour, plus another 25 minutes. That makes 85 minutes in 1 hour 25 minutes. So we do 65.2 divided by 85, and that turns out to be 0.767. You can copy down some more of the display. Okay, what we're doing here is we're working out the speed in miles per minute, but because the units are consistent, it's absolutely fine to do this. So who drove at the greatest speed? It will be the person for route 2, which is Geraldine. Next, this question, work out the size of angle KLM, which is here. Okay, there's right angle triangles involved. This looks like it's going to be a trigonometry based question. You can work out the length of KM. You always have to question why they have two triangles backed onto each other. And And usually it's because you can use one triangle to work out the common line, and then you can use the common line to then work out either the angle or side that you need from the other triangle. So the red line I can work out using Pythagoras Theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we have, remember, c is always the one opposite the right angle. So we have something like this. 4.5 squared plus 7 squared is equal to c squared. Okay, and that means c is equal to the square root of that. So square root of 4.5 squared plus 7 squared, all square rooted. Okay, we're going to leave it as a surd. So c is equal to root 277 over 2. Yep. Now I'm going to label the sides now to work out this angle. Okay, the right angle's here. So this is the opposite side, O, and the side opposite the right angle is known as the hypotenuse. So this is sine. So we can draw the sine triangle, which is SOH. Okay, let's call this angle, or label the angle X. So we have something like this. If we fill in the triangle, we have sine of the angle, so sine X, and then on the top we have O, which is this. So we have root 277 over 2, and the hypotenuse is 15. So the first thing that we should do is we cover the sine X, and it's equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So it's root 277 over 2 over 15, and then if this is equal to sine X, then X is equal to inverse sine of that. So it's shift sine fraction. So the root 277 over 2 is still my ans. Yep, and that's over 15. Scroll to the right, close the brackets, and you end up with this answer, 33.695. Let's copy this down and then round to 3 significant figures. That's 3 from the beginning, as long as there aren't any leading zeros. So 33.7. Next question. So multiple densities, multiple liquids. The idea with this question is to set out your table, D, M, V, and then A, B, C down the side. Yep. A is mixed with B to make C. Okay, we'll fill in the table. So density of 1.42. Okay, 7 centimeters cubed of liquid A, that's a volume. Is 100 mixed with 125 centimeters of B, that's that one. So these two add together to make 132. These two, A and B, are added together to make C. As I said, you can add masses together and add volumes together, but you cannot add densities together. Liquid C has a density of 1.05. That's fine. Okay, so we have everything we need now. So what we're trying to do is work out the density of liquid B. So let's try and work out some of these masses first. There is a formula for density. It goes DMV. Don't move Vicky. So I can work out the mass here. 1.42 times 7. Okay, that's 9.94. I can work out the mass of C as well. Okay, density times volume. So 1.05 multiplied by 132. And that gives me 138.6. Okay, and as I said, you can add and subtract masses and volumes. So 138.6 minus 9.94 gives you 128.66. Okay, and finally I can work out the density of B. Density is mass divided by volume, so 128.66 divided by 125. Okay, and that is 1.02928. Okay, and that's the answer. 1.02928. Give your answer to 2 decimal places, so 1.03. The next question can be done using the table mode on the calculator. So if we go to table mode, at least for this line, we can rearrange it into y is greater than 6 minus 2x. And we can produce the table of values using the table mode. So like this. Menu, table, whichever option it is on your calculator. Enter the equation 6 minus 2 alpha x. Press equals. Start at the lowest x, so -2. End at the highest x, 8. And then leave the step as 1. This produces the table. Plot these points. 0 goes to 6 and so on. And once you've plotted these points, you can then draw the line through them. Okay, these are dashed lines because they're all either less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. They're either less than or greater than, so they're dashed lines like this. So this is the first one. Make sure you draw the line all the way across. The next one, x is less than 4. So when it's less than 4, you find 4 on the x-axis and draw a vertical line there. And the next one, y is greater than 1/3. So again, we can use the table mode. 1/3 x. Okay. Same range. So some of these coordinates are quite nasty. It's okay. Just plot the easy ones. So 0, 0. Plot the integer ones. 3 goes to 1. And another one. 6 goes to 2. Yep. Now plot the line through them again. Yep. And now we've got a shade. Okay, so x is, let's go through these lines one by one. X is less than 4, so it's to the left of the pink one. Y is greater than 6 minus 2x. It's greater than this diagonal line. So if it's greater than a diagonal line, it's above the diagonal line. Y is greater than 1/3 x. Y is greater than 1/3 x. If it's greater than 1/3 x, it's above that line. Now the region that satisfies all three of them is this peculiar shape here. So shade this region here. Okay. We'll have capital R in there. Okay, and that's fine. Next. So so some of these are slightly easier than others. X squared is a bowl-shaped graph. So you look for the bowl, that's D. Y is equal to X, that's a straight line, so that's B. And then we have a few others. So a y equals kx cubed. An x cubed graph has this kind of shape. So we're looking for one like that, and that's E. Square root of x. You can't square root a negative number, so it's got to be C because the graph doesn't exist for this part. So you cannot square root a negative number, so that's C. And this one, k over x, which is known as a reciprocal graph, you cannot divide by 0. So at 0, the graph is crazy. It doesn't exist. There's an asymptote there. So that's A. Next, volume. So this is to do with scale factors, similar shapes, scale factors, length, area, volume. We have SF, SF squared, SF cubed. Yep. So it's to do with volume. So we select SF cubed. Okay, both of these volumes are given. So we write down the larger one over the smaller one. And this is the scale factor for volume. The question is dealing with the height. So we need to, height is a type of length. So we need to go from scale factor cubed to scale factor. And the way we do that is we cube root. So if you cube root this, press So menu 1 to get out of this. Shift square root, so it comes up with cube root. Fraction 500 over 150 gives you this. Now, it's not a very nice number, but that's what it is. You can't round this. You have to copy down the entire display. Okay. And that is what you multiply the small one by to get to the large one for the lengths. The lengths on the larger ice cream tub are 1.493 times bigger than on the smaller one. So because we know the height of the smaller one is 5, we do 5 times 1.493. 5 times 1.493. So we do 5 multiplied by 1.493. Times this by 5. And that means the new height is 7.469, etc. We then round it to 3 significant figures, so it's 7.47. Next one. Okay, this is a sector. There are formulas. There are 2 formulae to do with sectors. One of them is the area of a sector. Another one is the arc length of a sector. So the perimeter is 25. 9 add 9 is 18. 25 take away 18 is 7 centimeters. So this arc length is 7 centimeters. Now the formula for circumference is pi times d. Cherry pie is delicious, as you remember it. You can also write the formula for the circumference as 2 pi r, because 2 radii make 1 diameter. So this is another formula for circumference. And the reason I mention this is because the arc, which is 7 centimeters, is part of the circumference of a circle. So if you have a circle like this, part of the circumference is known as the arc. So this bit here, which could be 7 centimeters, is part of the circumference. So you need the circumference formula, but the circumference works out the entire distance around the edge of a circle. And we only have part of the circle, a sector. So it's 2 pi r times whatever angle you have out of 360. And this works out the arc length. Okay, the arc length of a sector, which is this bit here. Now, what do we know? So we know that r is 9. We don't know the angle. The angle is x. But we know that the arc length is 7. We've just worked it out. It's 7 centimeters. So we just need to rearrange this to work out x. There's many ways to do this. Okay, I can times 7 by 360 first of all. So 7 times 360 gives me 2,520. So I have 2 times pi times 9 times x is equal to 7 times 360, which is 2520. And then I can do a bit of shifting around. So 2520 over 2 times pi times 9. And this will give me the final answer. So 44.563. If you round this to 3 significant figures, it's 44.6. Actually, it's 1 decimal place, but it produces the same answer, 44.6. I always advise copying the calculator display and then rounding it to 1 decimal place. Okay, next. Right, we're on to the slightly tougher questions now. Here is a sketch of sine x plus a plus b. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to draw the normal sine graph, how it should appear. So sine of 0 is 0, sine of 90 is 1, sine of 180 is 0, sine of 270 is -1, sine of 360 is 0. Let's draw this curve on now. So that's a sine graph. Now, the reason that I've drawn this sine graph is so that we can see how it's translated. The number in the bracket is shifts the graph to the left or to the right, but when it's plus a, it shifts the graph to the left. The number at the end moves the graph up or down, translates the graph up or down. This could move up or it could move down depending on the value of b. If b is plus 1, the graph will move up 1, and if b is negative 1, then the graph will move 1 down. Now, if you compare the sine graph that's on there, you can see that the minimum point of the sine graph is at negative 1. Okay, that's here at negative 1. But the minimum value of the new sine graph is at negative 2. Now you're not looking at the squares, you're looking at the units. It's gone down by 1. It's gone down from negative 1 to negative 2. That means b must be negative 1. It's moved down 1. So if you move this graph down 1, exactly down 1, it's going to look like this. Now, the next question is, by what angle do we need to move it to the left? Okay, it's plus a, so a moves it to the left. So have a look at this. If you move it 90 degrees to the left, then it's going to end up overlapping this graph. So a is 90 degrees. It's moved 90 to the left and it's moved 1 down. Now, if you're unable to draw the sine graph because you've forgotten it, you can use the table mode to help you. So just type in sine alpha x, yep, and then start at 0, end at 360, but go up in steps of 90 because each of the markings are at 90, and this will give you some of the values. Then you can plot the values, and then you can draw the curve from these points. But you must remember, it's got to be a smooth curve. It's not straight lines between the points. The next question, the logical thing to do on the left-hand side would be to expand the bracket. If you expand the bracket by using these 4 lines to expand, you end up with x squared plus 4x minus 8x minus 32. When you simplify this, you get x squared minus 4x minus 32. Now, on the right-hand side, this is called the completed square notation. X minus a all squared plus b is the completed square. So what we do, to work out a, we half the coefficient of x. So half the coefficient of x. Half of negative 4 is negative 2. So it's x take away 2 squared. Then we always subtract the number in the bracket squared. So 2 squared is 4. So you subtract 4. You then copy the number at the end and write it after the negative 4. So negative 32 here. We then simplify this. Oops. So we end up with x minus 2 squared minus 36. Now you have to be very careful here because they have written negative a in the brackets. So we mustn't write minus 2 for a, because if we write minus 2 for a, then it's x minus minus 2, which would be x plus 2. So it's actually just 2 because they've already included the minus. B, however, is negative 36. Okay. And the next question. Oh, there's a misprint here. There are 9 counters in a bag. There is an even number on 3 of the counters. There is an odd number on 6 of the counters. 3 of the counters can be taken at random from the bag. The numbers on the counters will be added together to give the total. Find the probability that it's an odd number. So first of all, the probability of even is this 3 even counters out of 9 in the bag, and the probability of odd must be 6 over 9. Now, I'm not going to draw a tree diagram for this, but I am going to think about the different options that would add together to give an odd number. So let's think about this. We have, if you have an odd, add an odd, add an odd, you end up with an odd number. If you have 2 even numbers and 1 odd number and you add them together, you also end up with an odd number. But this can happen in 3 ways, you see, because the odd could be in the middle or it could be at the end. As long as there's 1 odd and 2 even, this will produce an odd number when you add them together. So we're going to try and work out each of these probabilities now. for odd times for odd, it's the 6 out of 9 which are odd. Next time round there will only be 5 out of 8. The next time round there'll only be 4 out of 7. Now reset the situation. So we go back to odd. There's 6 out of 9 that are odd. And now we're looking at even. So even, there's 3, but there'll only be 8 in the bag. And next time round, if we're looking at even, there'll only be 2 even left, but 7 in the bag. But this can happen in 3 different ways, so we times it by 3. So it's this answer here plus this answer here, and this is the most efficient, quickest way of working this one out. Now there is an even quicker way to type this in the calculator. Instead of writing 3 fractions, you can do 6 times 5 times 4 over 7 times, sorry, I beg your pardon, so 9 times 8 times 7 plus 3 times 6 times 3 times 2 over 9 times 8 times 7. And this is the final answer, 19 over 42. That's a top grade question. Next, last page. So when you have, this is called composite functions, you first of all work out from the right hand side. So you work out g of 2. G of 2 is, follow the g function, it's 4 times 2 take away 1. That's 8 take away 1, which is 7. Once you've worked out this, then you substitute it into f. So you work out f of 7. So it's 7 cubed. Type that in the calculator, 343. And the last one, h of x is equal to fg of x. Find an expression for the inverse function of h. Well, first of all, I don't know what h is, so I need to work out h. So let's look at this quite carefully. It's equal to fg of x. Okay, so fg of x. Now, in the last question, I worked out fg of 2. So I worked out g of 2, which was 7, and then I substituted it into the f function. Now, you can't work out g of x. G of x is 4x minus 1. So we just have to replace that with 4x minus 1. And now we replace the x in the f function with 4x minus 1. So we're substituting 4x minus 1 into the f function. Now, I did that in the last question with 7. As you can see here, I replaced the x with 7. So it was 7 cubed rather than x cubed. So using the same logic, I'm going to replace the x with 4x minus 1. So instead of x cubed, it's now 4x minus 1 cubed. This is h of x. So now I know what h of x is. It's 4x minus 1 cubed. But they want me to work out the inverse function of h. So how do you do this? Stage 1, write it as y equals. Stage 2, swap your x with y. Oops, should be y. It's 1 cubed. And then try to make y the subject. So to get rid of a cube, to undo a cube, you cube root both sides. So you cube root x, and that's equal to 4y minus 1. Then you add 1 to both sides. So cube root of x, add 1 is equal to 4y. And finally, you divide by 4. So you have the cube root of x plus 1 over 4 is equal to y. And this is what we write on the answer line. So the cube root of x plus 1 over 4. So, approximate grade boundaries for this paper. If you're aiming for a grade 9, you need about 80%. For a grade 8, it's about 65%. For a grade 7, it's about 50%. A grade 6 is about 40%. A grade 5 is about 30%. And a grade 4 about 20%. Okay, thanks, folks. Hope that's been useful.